What's going on, beautiful people out there in YouTube land? It is I, your main man, the werewolf himself, James C. Lovett. Oh, don't use that one. That's my government name. All right. So, what is this video about? I'm glad you asked. This particular video is going to be about the all caps name and what we've learned about it. See, everything that we've been basing this information on has been about the all caps name, the all caps format, if you will. Now, also the topography. So we have to be able to find where the rubber meets the road if we're going to hold this claim. Now we see it every day, but we need to find where it can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is a video that's going to be about the elusive case of the all capitalized name. Now, what do we know about this? Well, let me get comfy. What do we know? Well, we know that when we get a business, it 100%, whether it's from the state or the IRS, the government, whatever, always comes in all capitalized format or topography. Now, we know that that's a business thing, so it's a business format, and we know that that represents, because we just got it from the state, a business. But where can we prove this? Well, the states kind of just go, that's just how it's done. Okay. So in my endeavors and research, which is usually when you guys don't see me making any videos or anything for a while, it's what I'm doing. I'm researching, I'm in the books. So I don't have a whole lot of time to answer people, texting and emailing and whatever else. I'm busy, literally, handling some consults and whatever. Oh, hey, by the way, it'd be awesome if you haven't subscribed to hit that bell, like, and subscribe icon, or whichever one of those that you see or deem fit. Once again, there you go. I'm always getting my phone blown up. Apologize for that. So we see it every day on our credit cards, street signs, the name of businesses, municipalities, especially in the military. Nobody seems to know why we use it or how it got started. Well, I was able to trace it back to the Roman days, where a captured person, a slave, their name would be depicted in all capitalized letters, because a true Roman citizen's name was in all lowercase lettering. Because essentially what this means is that you were humble before the Creator, or humble before God in your smallest form. So to capitalize one's name literally means that in all of the definitions of it, not only in formats, but it also means to make money on, to actually capitalize on this person. This person has become capital. Cattle. You're being sold for money. So this was under what, civilis mortuus, essentially, to mean, which is Latin for civilly dead. You're dead as a citizen or a civilian. You've lost your ability to have your freedoms and rights. As a slave, you now have benefits and privileges. So from there, it was adopted into the maritime jurisdiction and used by England and the Vatican and various European institutions and all that other stuff. Now I'm going to jump to the chase, or to the quick, as they say, because I made other videos on this, where we now know that the all capitalized format represents a legal entity, which can mean a legal person, which is different than the living person. You know this by when you get a business and it comes with, even if you get a business in your name, it'll come in your all capitalized name format because it's a legal thing. Now you have to understand there's a difference between legal and lawful. Legal means inside the corporation, especially that which is known as the United States, located under UCC 9-307, the location of the debtor is in the District of Columbia, which is not one of the 50 states, and has its own constitution. So we know that all of this came over here from Britain and England and Europe with the founding fathers and the various lawyers, which also came over here from Britain. And essentially they just set up shop. So they brought their system over here. We started using it, and nobody really, unless you're in the bar, knows anything really a whole lot deeper of these things. And as we proved in one video, we could not find anything concrete. And if any of you members out there in the bar, and I know you guys watch my videos too, would like to share the definition of bar, if it in fact does mean British Accreditation Registry, then please by all means let me know. But it actually just literally meant the bar that separates between the court and the people. People being private, and then the court being essentially the public. But the court itself actually is a PMA. It's a private members association, but it's so large, it's called the public. So here they are actually private in their own jurisdiction, but they're so big, they're called the public. And when you can join the public, otherwise you're supposed to be in the private. That's why they want you to come through the bar to then be recognized as one of their members. Now, once again, it's about jurisdiction. So you have to understand that the legal side is public and juridical. And then yet there's the private side, common law, natural rights, living, versus the other side, which is dead entities, persons. And when you look up the definition of persons in Black Law's dictionary, and then you find out that Brian A. Garner, which Brian A. Garner, if you are out there watching, there's a couple mistakes you have in your Black Law's dictionary, by the way. But if you are watching, Brian, let me know exactly. I'm gonna do my best to try to piece together the all caps utilization, because you obviously write about it in Black Law's dictionary under the fact that it's construed with capitis demutio maxima, a full loss of rights, and then researching that to understand that a full loss of rights was represented in the Roman days as a person with their name in all capitalized letters. Now, I haven't been able to find anything exactly that links them, but a full loss of rights under Latin capitis demutio maxima in the Roman days was also paired with somebody's name being in all capitalized letters, also their death name, which is why your name on tombstones are capitalized. Those are the same things, but because it was used since antiquity, when people just knew what it was, nobody specifically wrote about it. It's like today, nobody would write about the experience of going into a grocery store and the door opens up automatically. It's just something we use and do, but people talk about the pieces of it. So in this particular video, and will be a longer video, so hopefully you guys always keep telling me you guys want longer stuff. So I dug and found some court cases where people were arguing about the straw man name, or otherwise known as your public transmitting utility, or nom de gore, is Latin for war name. But here's the problem. They're arguing the spelling of the name. The spelling of James C. Lovett in all caps is exactly the same as James C. Lovett in all lowercase lettering. Then they were trying to argue that, well, it's said differently. No. What they needed to be arguing is that anything in all capitalized letters is essentially synonymous with it being a legal entity, a legal person, a legal party. And a legal entity is a non-living thing that was created by man. And it has similar rights as a living man, but as the law states, that which is similar is not the same. If it's not the same, then it's similar, which means it's not identical. It's not one and the same. So there's a difference between your legal person and your living person. And that's why at 18, when you go from your minor account to the age of the majority, you now have the ability to engage within the legal system. The legal system isn't everything and everywhere, but it is everywhere. And it is and it's not all at the same time, because it's an overlay. So it's kind of like if we, the American people, own the geographical or continental United States of America, which is the union of the private side of the republic of every state. Hence, say like Wisconsin state is different than the state of Wisconsin. Those are two separate things, different jurisdictions. It's the same thing with the public and the private. In the private, it's common law. You can pretty much do whatever you want to do. Constitution supports and protects that. But in the legal system, it's like the other half of a globe. So if this top part up here above ground where you stand is the private side, the lower half of the globe, which is underwater, you have your standing here and you've got your status here. Private person here, state citizen, national, non-citizen, national up here. Legal person, U.S. citizen, 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, juridical person. Okay? So that's how it works. And then there's a line. So when police officers and sheriffs, and I know you guys watch my videos too. Matter of fact, I've actually helped a number of different agencies and law enforcement to understand some of this because they're not taught this either. None of us are taught this. That those are two separate things. Essentially, anybody with an all caps name is doing legal business as an entity. That's why sometimes politicians or whatever else are considered to be actors. You can look that up on either Wikipedia. Because it is a mask. It is a persona. Like this mask right here is the wolf mask, and then you've got the jester mask up here. Those are personas. It's no different than when you get a business. And once again, the name always 100% across the board will always come in all caps. Why? Because it's a legal entity. It's a mask that when you're doing business and it has a separate name distinct from yours, you are clearly looked at as being two distinct entities, one living, one non-living, but still yet a legal entity with certain privileges and similar rights as a human living being, but not the same. I've already proven this in multiple videos. So what happens is the state of can't own or control you while you're under the Constitution for the United States of America. So what they do is they bring you into their jurisdiction and their PMA, which is a private members association, but it's so big, it's called the public, and the federal government lets them do whatever they want to do with their people, their entities, their persons, their legal or juridical persons. All of the states linked together in their group. So they have their entire group where they then bring in private citizens into their legal jurisdiction as trusts or co-trustees, legal entities. So when they give you, when the hospital tricks you, convinces your parents by saying, oh, this law states, well, it's the state code and it's their law. It's not the superior law. So if you believe that you are a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, then yes, you'd need to abide by their codes, rules, regulations, and statutes. Now, this doesn't mean that you're above the law. What it means is that you've got constitutional law, and then you've got the states. The state has their own constitution, just like Washington, D.C. has its distinct own constitution. So when you, from the state, when you get that birth certificate, which is different than the certificate of live birth, the state is creating a legal person that has the same name as you. And if you notice in the birth certificate, they don't have the word live because they're not birthing the real person. They don't have the birth weight and signatures and all that because they didn't birth a living person. They birthed a legal person into their jurisdiction. Now, the hospitals, some are better than others, but they're in on it too, whether they all know, which they usually don't because usually this information is compartmentalized. But they also, if you notice, don't really want you to have the heirloom or the original birth document with the baby feet print on there because that is the master document to your living person. Now, we know that those go missing and we know where they allegedly go. So we're going to take a look at some of these cases. And then we're going to go through some stuff that I use with ChatGPT with my good friend Jeff out there. So thank you, Jeff. And we're going to kind of break this down because we really need to see where the rubber meets the road. And I'm going to try to reach out to Brian Garner and see. Now, one of the things I noticed is that some of the other books that I'm going to be mentioning are all written by him. So how does he know all of this information? Why are people using his information like it's law? I guess because maybe he must be the head person in their legal jurisdiction in their PMA. Now, remember, guys, everything we're talking about here is educational information. Please do your own vetting. And as always, you don't have to do everything that's mentioned in all of my videos. It's all construed as education, informational purposes only, and we assume no responsibility, nor any guests that come on here do we assume any responsibility for what they say, because this is all in, educational format, okay? So you are responsible. And I highly, highly, highly suggest you guys be careful with other people's practices and methods and processes, okay? So I get a lot of you guys telling me you did some of these processes and stuff, and then you got into trouble. Then you want me to help you get out of it. Well, you are grown and you knowingly did something dumb without contacting the various agencies to find out if you can do that. Just because you're a lead guru on YouTube, got away with it, doesn't mean everybody will. If all the sheep are jumping the fence, the farmer can't stop all of them, but he's going to get some of them, all right? So that's why I don't do any of those processes. You won't see me doing any of that stuff. Correct your standing, create a private side. If you have to, look into getting some things discharged here and there. But in general, yeah, stop trying to think that you can just do something and have millions of dollars. That doesn't even make sense. If everybody had, let's look at the mind of the states and the government from one moment, shall we? If everybody was a multimillionaire, who's going to want to work? And do you have any idea what that would do to the system? It would collapse it. And you guys don't want that. And the governments don't want that. So we can't have that. But will we get to a point in time where it's like a socialistic, type of society? Yeah, we'll probably get there. All kingdoms fall, except for the Lord's. So now that you guys have known or know more than what you did, let's take a gander. Once I find it on the court case. So I'm going to have you guys, people emailing me. One second. You guys really only need to hit one email. You don't have to send me double and triple just because I have 12 emails. I check them all nearly daily. And if it's not me, then it's one of my people who do it for me. But it usually will get to me. But, remember, watch the videos first before reaching out. I am not your dictionary, your encyclopedia, your thesaurus, or any of that, okay? I don't sit here like Batman waiting for the email. All right. And to those people who just emailed me to say thank you for this information and who've done their own research and, you know, improved themselves, thank you as well. I appreciate that. Where is, I just had it up. Ah, there we go. All right, so we're going to go through. I'm going to have my lovely assistant read this website done by Richard Anthony. So credit goes out to you for this particular web page information. And the court cases, which are, looks like some federal district, some Supreme Court. So you're gonna listen to this and you're gonna see how they were very close to, in a way, to winning their judgments, but they were arguing the wrong thing. You can't, the spelling and the sound of it. No, it's the format or the topography of it and how it links to it being a legal person, which is separate than a living person. But the living person, when the names are the same, you do what's known as alter ego. You merge the living with the dead, you know, kind of like in the Michael Jackson video. And you become half alive and half dead, but you're wearing a legal mask. So they weren't arguing the right points, but I will switch the camera around. Oh, no, not me, the camera, my bad. Share screen. Shikaka. Okay. So let's get going.
The following court cases deal with objections to one's name being printed in capital block letters, all caps. In every case, the court ruled that it is frivolous to argue how one's name is spelled and ruled against them. Many patriots, for profit, have used these court cases to prove that it does not matter how you spell a name, whether in all capital letters or not. But if it does not matter, why doesn't the court simply spell the name the way the accused asks them to? However, as will be seen, the reason for the court's ruling against these arguments was not because of how the name was spelled, but because the accused used the wrong arguments and submitted themselves to the court's jurisdiction. Richard's comments in brackets. Admitting it's your name. If a court calls out a name, which is fictitious, and the accused answers to that name, even if he says his name isn't spelled that way, he is still admitting that it is his name. The body of the accused is present. What does it matter how it's spelled now? Remember, either it is your name or it is not your name. If it's not your name, you don't answer to it. Period. Here's what happens if you do. Russell v. U.S., W.D. Michigan 1997, 969 F.Sup 24. Petitioner claims because his name is in all capital letters on the summons, he is not subject to the summons, completely without merit, patently frivolous, and will be rejected without expending any more of this court's resources. To argue that your name is spelled in all caps is wrong, because then you are admitting it is your name. A name spelled in all caps is not your name, and to say it is your name gives jurisdiction to the court. Instead of saying, my name is spelled in all caps on your papers, one should say, my godly name does not appear on your papers. Wyatt versus Kelly, Chief Bankruptcy Judge, W.D. Texas Unpub March 23, 98, 44 USPQ 2D 1578, 81 AFTR 2D 1463, 98 USTC Para 50326. Tried to sue judge for violating his civil rights by having his name printed in court documents in a way other than the appellation this crank prefers. Crank reacted by refusing to respond to prosecution's complaint, whereupon the judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. Suit against judge dismissed. #1. Civil rights, which have men for their author, are an abomination to God because they create state worship. If you partake of man's created rights, you are under the power of the creator of those rights, man. The creator determines what the created violated, not the other way around. #2. By him admitting his name was spelled incorrectly, he admitted it was his name, and he, again, gave jurisdiction to the court. #3. Scripture forbids us to go to courts of law, and commands us not to sue others, but to forgive others. Therefore, he gave jurisdiction to the court simply by being lawless in God's eyes. Dowett v. U.S. Banker, SD Fla Unpub July 23, 96, 78 AFTR 2D 6243 Aft. SD Fla Unpub November 6, 97, 228 Banker, RPTR 481, 482 80 AFTR 2D 8254. Claims that the use of his name John E. Dowett is an illegal misnomer and use of said name violates the right to his lawful status was rejected. Basically, John confessed to, and answered to, his name in all caps. Since by doing so, he gives jurisdiction to the court, it is no longer an illegal misnomer. U.S.V. Freck, 10th Circle Unpub June 16, 98, 149 F3D 1192, T. Defendants' assertion that the capitalization of their names in court documents constitutes constructive fraud, thereby depriving the district court of jurisdiction and venue, is without any basis in law or fact. The defendants already admitted it was their name, and answered to that name, so how can it be fraud? The court is correct. Giving wrong reasons. U.S. via Washington, SDNY 1996, 947 F.Sub 87. Finally, the defendant contends that the indictment must be dismissed because Kurt Washington, spelled out in capital letters, is a fictitious name used by the government to tax him improperly as a business, and that the correct spelling and presentation of his name is Kurt Washington. This contention is baseless. The accused made the wrong argument. True, it is a fictitious name. However, to say it is used because the government wants to tax him improperly as a business is hypothetical and speculative. Opinions are not law and have no standing in law. There are other reasons why the government uses fictitious names, and to claim this one, without proof, is not a reason to dismiss the case. Yeager versus Dubuque County, ND, Iowa 1995, 880 F.Sub 640 at 643. The court finds Yeager's arguments concerning capitalization otherwise specious. The court routinely capitalizes the names of all parties before this court in all matters, civil and criminal, without any regard to their corporate or individual status.
Now, one of the things that you have to understand here is that you're also in the belly of the beast trying to argue with their very antiquated, their own stuff from antiquity, like literally digging up, knocking over the Statue of Liberty and analyzing, the foundation stones. Everybody's like, yeah, this is just, we're built. This is what it is. What are you talking about? And they don't focus on it. It's just a thing. It's like breathing for them. It's like telling them, hey, stop and analyze and describe to me breathing. Like, why would you do that? It's just, it is. So if you're in the legal system, these people, you see that they don't even look, they have done alter ego. They themselves are so deep into law, they think that their law is the only thing. But no, there's common law, private law, federal law, constitutional, international. There's lots of law. But when you go to the inside of the beast of in their jurisdiction, you're basically trying to stab the devil with, a fork made out of fire. They're just like, yeah, good luck with that. You're trying to tear down what we've, no, this is how we move. So the argument really needs to be that the name, when it's in all caps, represents a legal entity and is denoted in the format of capitalization. The topography of this makes me this legal entity. The name matches my name in sound and in spelling, but the format denotes a legal person. And that is not me. Though I am the authorized agent, which is why if you look at your checks and you look at the line where you sign and there's a little MP on the end, where the MP stands for microprint, and on that line it actually says authorized agent. So the state made you an authorized agent for the legal person, the legal entity that has the same name as you. You put the mask on, or they put the mask on you as a baby, and you've been operating yourself as a legal person with certain benefits, privileges, and similar rights as a living person. Whereas the Constitution for the United States of America gives you constitutional rights. Those are different jurisdictions. So we've been doing business in their jurisdiction our entire lives. That's why they asked you to prove citizenship. Are you citizenship? So hence the word ship, maritime jurisdiction. That's how they operate. Their rules and codes are based on it. Okay. So citus means to be of the city. Okay, meaning essentially of this entity. So they created an entity. In this case, it's the United States or the state of. They create an entity and then they have rules. It's a body politic. And they conformed you to it by having you get mail for their benefits of a bank account and whatever else to bring you into their legal juridical society. Your name on there, typically printed in all caps, 2-digit abbreviation, which is owned by the states, is trademark, and then the government's zip code. So you've admitted that you are a federalized state employee, 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. You weren't born in Washington, D.C. If you were, then yeah, you are. But by law, you also have the ability to be a private person. So they're saying that you can go between either ones of those as you see fit, but that's up to you. But you didn't know you had those things. So let's get back.
Status. Notice the court qualified the term status. The court did not say without regard to their status, but only to their corporate or individual status. Under the law, corporate and individual status is identical. Maxim of law. The law.
So hear that. So they said those are identical. Why? Because the word individual, it has multiple meanings, but all of the meanings really don't mean a living private person. It just means instead of corporate means corp is Latin for body. So corporation is a animated body of peoples. But if you're one animated body and there's not multiple entities within you, sounds gross, by the way, then you're an individual, but legal, separate thing. Notice how you never see anything in here that says private. These people aren't even arguing they're a private person, and a private person not in their legal system, our names are denoted as such. But see, the whole thing too is that you guys, instead of like sending out your affidavits, I'm going to make a video on this. And yes, I know I have promoted doing the affidavits. We just need to understand what's going on, the jurisdiction, and then create a private side. They don't care or want to know that we don't want to play with their toys anymore. But what we need to really do is learn to play with their toys when we want to play with them and be private when we want. But in order to do that, we have to first we have to know what's going on. And then we create a private side and we let them do their business. And if we want to do business with them, then we understand what's going on. And then we do it. Either you play or you don't play. That's it. All right. Lovely assistant, take it away.
Law which governs corporations is the same as that which governs individuals. Yeager's error was as follows. Either he admitted he was an
Now, see what they said here. The law, now they didn't say which particular law, but it's the public law. Okay. Corporation law does not rule everything. But if you're in their court and you're arguing their stuff, then the laws that govern a corporation are the same that govern an individual or individuals. So here you have to understand that the word individual, once again, as I just mentioned prior, means an entity, a singular entity, not like a corporation of multiple entities. Sounds kind of demonic, if you will, to me, but if you look at it that way. Anyways, let's carry on.
individuals. Yeager's error was as follows. Either he admitted he was an individual, or he did not rebut the presumption by his accusers that he was an individual. Davis versus Deadens, SD Ohio Unpub April 18, 98. I believe that not only is this case subject to dismissal, but it is also subject to sanctions under Rule 11. Making a distinction between all capital letters and capital and small letters is frivolous. Litigant tried to deny validity of traffic ticket because it printed the court's name in all caps.
So here he was wrong because, first of all, if you have a traffic ticket, you have a driver's license. You have an account with them as a legal person. You've agreed that you are the authorized agent. Now, if he would have watched my videos, he would know that you need to put your vehicle in a private trust, which is also not a living entity, but a private entity with its own structure and laws. And if that entity is private, then it falls under private law. And he would have then moved his vehicle out of their jurisdiction. Then they wouldn't even be able to write a ticket because there wouldn't be anything there. So if I was a judge, well, I guess technically I'm an equity judge in California, in Calafia County. So I would have ruled the same way. Because he's wrong. Just because you get a ticket, you're still responsible for it. The all caps name doesn't mean you can just ignore it. You got to get away from using the all caps name. Supreme Court also backs the fact that if you're going to utilize their toys in this PMA, private contractual obligation agreement you have with the state to drive, which is different than right to travel, and you agree that you're the all caps name, the problem is people don't understand that you agree to be that person, that legal entity, legal person. So yeah. Now, a lot of people are like, Wolf, I thought you were on our side. Well, we're going to get to some things too, but we have to be fair when we look at the information, and it's true. These people did not argue the right aspects to prove their point. So close, no cigar. Oh, you got to be quicker than that.
Traffic ticket because it printed the court's name in all caps. It does not matter how the court's name is spelled. It was spelled correctly since it is a fiction.
Yep.
It has no bearing on the validity on a traffic ticket.
Yep.
Similar court ruling in drug prosecution case U.S.C. Whacker, 10th Circle Unpup March 31st, 99. Rippy v. IRS, ND California Unpub January 26, 99. Plaintiff's response consists of nothing more than a protest against the capitalization of his name in the caption. Accordingly, summary judgment is granted in favor of defendants and against plaintiff. The same ruling is in Hancock versus State of Utah, 10th Circle Unpub, May 10, 99, 176.
Unpub, unpublished. Yeah, some information they don't just put out there for the public.
176 F3D 488 T. U.S.V. M.L. Lindsay, 10th Circle, July 1st, 99, F3D, 99 U.S.T.C. Para 50648, 84 AFTR 2D 5102. Tax evasion defendant's refusal to read court papers that capitalized his name and his other misbehavior justified the court refusing to reduce his sentence. Steckland v. U.S., M.D. Flaw Unpub December 8, 97. Tax evader complained of his name being in a prior order issued by this court and then makes an incorrect reference to this form of using all capital letters as being proper only in reference to corporate entities. This is an incorrect statement of the law, is illustrative of his continued harassing and frivolous behavior. Boyce v. ISCIR, September 25, 96, TC Memo 1996 to 439 Aft, 9th Circle 1997, 122 F3D 1069. An objection to the spelling of petitioners' names in capital letters because they are not fictitious entities was rejected.
Once again, these are fictitious entities, meaning not living, not real, tangible persons, but in fact, they are legal entities. And it's not the spelling, it's the format, the typography. They are arguing the wrong points.
Spelling of petitioners' names in capital letters because they are not fictitious entities was rejected. U.S.V. Lindblom, W.D. Wash Unpub April 16, 97, 79 AFTR 2D 2578, 97 U.S.T.C. Para 50650. In this submission, Mr. Lindblom states that he and his wife are not proper defendants to this action because their names are not spelled with all capital letters as indicated in the civil caption. The cap's argument and the refused for fraud contention were rejected.
Once again, not arguing the correct things. Let's see here.
The following court cases deal with objections to having no punctuation in the midst of one's name. Rosenheck and Company, Inc. v. U.S.X. Rel. IRS and Costage, ND Oklahoma Unpub April 9, 97, 79 AFTR 2D 2715. Costage has made the disingenuous argument that the IRS documents at issue here fail to properly identify him as the taxpayer. Defendant Costage contends his Christian name is Walter Edward Costage, Jr., and since the IRS documents do not contain his Christian name, he is not the person named in the notice of levy. The court expressly finds defendant Walter Edward Costage, Jr., is the person identified in the notice of levy, irrespective of the commas, capitalization of letters, or other alleged irregularities Costage identifies as improper.
Now, the reason why is because this is the name that he was given on his birth certificate. He's the authorized agent for this legal person. Everything he's been doing, even if, see, we understand that your name in lowercase, all lowercase lettering is a private given name. And once again, you're not hearing them talking about the difference between the given name. These people aren't even arguing that. Like, this is not my given name. There's a difference between the given name and the legal name. They're not even arguing the right points. This is why they failed. This right here is why the people out there are referred to as sovereign citizens, is because you are not getting the information right. I understand what you're saying. I'm just showing you where you're wrong. Now you got to fix it.
Improper. Similarly, the court's finding applies to the filed pleadings in this matter. The court is right when it says Walter Edward Kostic Jr. is the person identified in the document, because this
The person. Now, when you're dealing with a court, they deal with everything that's legal in public. So when they say the person, this is their shorthand way of saying we don't need to, you're not arguing that you're a living private person with a given name. They're just going, hey, you're that person. You are that person. If you come to hell, then you must be a demon. So hey, you know, in hell, they may not say, hey, what's up, my demon? They might say, what's up, D? Because we already know what you are. So the court is saying that in this legal format, this is how we talk. This is just our normal everyday. This is the person. You are that person. Your birth certificate says you are this person. You are the authorized agent for it. This is the person we are going after. And you are the authorized agent. So even if you want to separate yourself from it, whatever tax stuff you did was through this name and social. So you are that person. You are arguing the wrong thing.
Walter Edward Kostic Jr. is the person identified in the document, because this capitalized name is a person and it does appear on the document. The judge was not referring to Kostic, but to Kostic. In addition, Kostic said he is not the person named, but since he admitted to being a person, that gave the court jurisdiction.
He admitted to being a person. He didn't admit to being a natural, private, state citizen, human being. See, it's one of the reasons why, like, how should I explain? They're lumping a lot of things under the term person, and when you don't challenge the word person itself, then they have the ability to assume that you mean the legal person. What type of person are you identifying here as? That's your problem. This is why you failed. You don't understand the rules.
Person identified in the notice of levy, irrespective of the commas, capitalization of letters, or other alleged irregularities Kostic identifies as improper. Similarly, the court's finding applies to the filed pleadings in this matter. The court is right when it says Walter Edward Kostic Jr. is the person identified in the document, because this capitalized name is a person and it does appear on the document. The judge was not referring to Kostic, but to Kostic. In addition, Kostic said he is not the person named, but since he admitted to being a person, that gave the court jurisdiction. The government has jurisdiction over all persons, but not all men. All persons are not men.
There you go. Did you catch that? He did not identify himself as a man. That's why on the tickets and things it said this person must appear. Person. It didn't say man, it didn't say woman. These are their words. And when you respond to those words and you don't rebut them, gotcha.
Law, man, and person are not exactly synonymous terms.
There you go.
Bouvier's Law
Bouvier's.
Dictionary, 1856, 1 Bouv. INSTN 137. Not every human being is a person. Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, 1957 and 1968, page 1300. State v. R.E. Wilson, Montana Sub Unpub December 3, 98. Appellant argued that his convictions for driving without a license or insurance or registration was invalid solely because the court papers identified him as Richard E. Wilson, whereas he claimed his actual name is Richard Earl of Wilson, period after Earl and no capital for Wilson, consisting of his nomen, pronomen, and cognomentation in that order. The court rejected this argument by ruling, the caption more than adequately identifies the appellant as the party in interest, and appellant's efforts to distinguish his name from that shown on the caption by means of punctuation and terminology are wholly unpersuasive. The appellant basically argued that he can drive without a license solely because the court misspelled his name.
He argued that he can drive. This is their word. Black Law's Dictionary says to drive is to operate a motor vehicle for profit, commercially. Failed. This is where you lost, right here. You're done, son. And up here they said wholly unpersuasive. That means as a whole, because you've tainted the cake. You're not understanding what they're saying here. They're not saying you weren't persuasive, but as a whole, I can't be swayed by the whole thing. You're not keying in to the one key piece. And even if you key into the piece, I'm not that legal person. Okay, physically you're not, and you're separated, right? But the problem is, you're still using the legal name. Now, we know that there's a difference between the all upper, upper lower, and all lower. But what you're not arguing is that when my name in the all lowercase is a given name of a living man, and all uppercase is a legal person. But still yet you are responsible for that legal person.
Richard Earl of Wilson. Me. This is not true. Number 1. The way a court spells a name is not an excuse for driving without a license.
Driving.
The reason for exercising your duty of movement on the common way is solely because Christ commanded us to do so without permission from men. Number 2. The fact that he admitted to driving.
Now, obviously, this person is based in this information in Christ. And essentially what they're trying to convey is that religious freedom, meaning you are carrying on your activity privately, like a private trust, you have that right under the Constitution for the United States of America. It's protected. That document protects your right to privacy and to do business with who you want, contract publicly or privately, and unlimited. You have to know how to play the game.
Driving gave them jurisdiction because it's a commercial term.
Boom.
Number 3, he admitted to being, or did not refute the accusation that he was, an appellant and a party to the action, which gave the court jurisdiction.
Boom.
And approximately at the same time, the Cincinnati Enquirer, December 16, 98, reported that an Ohio court rejected that a defendant who had taken to identifying himself as Jack Edward Taylor was not the Jack Edward Taylor named in the court documents, especially since there were plenty of old letters and other papers he had signed in the usual way and sometimes without his middle name. The verdict was rebutted on use of semicolon. This defendant, by his own act, showed himself to be a false witness by signing his name on other pieces of paper the same way that he himself said it was not spelled. By signing his name to the fictitious name in all caps, he stood as surety in the flesh for the person the state created.
Boom.
He became one flesh and merged with a lie.
Alter ego.
The state used his own evidence against him.
Gotcha.
This is God's rod of correction for having a double mind.
Take that, take that.
U.S.V. Weatherly, ed. Pen 1998, 12F.Sup.2D 469. Threatened to sue the court clerk and others if they didn't address all their mail and paperwork to a very strange and long description of him with his name interrupted by a colon and his street address without a zip code. Followers of Christ are forbidden to sue others, 1 Corinthians 6 verses 1 to 8, and it is not the character of a bondman of Christ to use threats against others. The words we speak will be used to judge us as to whether we are truly of God or of the world. U.S.V. Klimek, ed. Pen 1997, 952 F. Sub 1100. Tried to refuse all pleadings and court papers that spelled his name in all caps and without intervening punctuation. Schwarzenegger v. The Supreme Court held in Granis v. Ordine, 1914, 234 U.S. 385 at 395, that even in names, due process of law does not require ideal accuracy. In the spelling and pronunciation of proper names, there are no generally accepted standards, and the well-established doctrine of idem sonans is recognition of this. In that case, a person with the unusual name of Albert Gilfuss ignored the delivery of a summons and court pleadings against Albert Gilfuss, presumably typed in all caps, and the default judgment against him was binding. A similar ruling on a misspelling on an indictment in Faust v. U.S., 1896, 163 U.S. 452. Idem sonans is when a name sounds the same, but spelled differently. And thus why, if you answer to a name that sounds the same as yours, it is spelled in all caps, you give the court jurisdiction. So don't answer.
Now, I would disagree. And when I start talking about court stuff in my seminars, which you guys can check out on Black Site 32 on the seminars page, find out when we're going to do them and whatnot. You definitely want to answer, because though you can plead the fifth, which is their stuff, you have the right to not incriminate yourself, which is also a remedy of theirs for this. You want to identify yourself who you properly are. Okay? You want to let them know that you are the grantor and the beneficiary, also known as the authorized agent for that estate, so created by the state. Here's my birth certificate for proof, or here's the birth certificate. Okay, now, there's some more to it, but you have to know what's going on.
Also, notice that Albert had these papers delivered to him, insinuating he had an address, which gave the court jurisdiction.
Yep, your address gives jurisdiction.
In the arraignment in 1996, one of the freemen stood up to announce that he refused to recognize anything but his full Christian name, evidently not printed in.
Now, here's the thing with the address. So one, who put the address on your house? The city. There you go, citus. Then you're using a 2-digit abbreviation. He didn't reject it. Then you're using the zip code. So essentially what this is it's a internal matter. When you respond, you are letting them know that your location is a territory of theirs. It's inside their corporation. This is an internal matter. You're sending an internal communique through the United States Postal Service to a territory or to their ward located in cubicle your address and this zip code.
In all caps and with some punctuation. This resulted in an unusual scene. An arrest warrant was issued and executed for the defendant's failure to appear at his arraignment, even though he was physically present in the courtroom.
Yep.
J.W. Nixon and E.R. Ardini, combating.
Oh, so that's not you? You're not him? Nope. Okay. Then they snatch you up because that entity owes a debt. And you are the surety for it because you've never said you weren't. It was given to you by the state. Did you update the state records, through vital statistics, as you've reached the age of majority, you're not that entity. You're the authorized agent for it. You assume no physical nor financial responsibility for it. And you're standing there telling them it's not you, but you're there because they sent it to the address where this entity is supposed to be. And you show up. And now you're saying it's not you, but everything you signed, including signing into court, they got you. So you're that entity, but you're obviously not competent. So they have to take your body because there's a debt that's owed, and the only thing that you have of value, apparently, is your body. Now, essentially, you've been captured in that slavery and peonage, but you let them do it because you're not arguing the right things. Or I shouldn't say argue, really. I'm just saying you're not conveying what's going on legally.
Common Law Courts, Criminal Justice, Spring 1998, page 14. This is why it is so important not to appear before their courts. Take note of these. Maxims of law. The presence of the body cures the error in the name. The truth of the name cures an error in the description. An error in the name is immaterial if the body is certain. An error in the name is nothing when there is certainty as to the person. The truth of the demonstration removes the error of the name. A general appearance cures antecedent irregularity of process, a defective service, etc. Certain legal consequences are attached to the voluntary act of a person. In one instance, a federal judge, confronted with a tax protester whose argument consisted of the fact that all the tax and legal documents spelled his name out in capitals in a normal way while he insisted his name was spelled out with...
Once again, it's not about how it's spelled. It's the format, topography. And if you're gonna hear you're a tax protester, well, if he was doing it correctly, you wouldn't have to worry about that. But in fact, if you're going to do that, and I don't recommend that, but if you're going to, then it's not tax evasion. It's tax avoidance. This is their legal term for it. So, but you don't need to do this if you set yourself up with a tax-exempt entity. An FBO, 508c1a, unincorporated association, foreign trust, private trust. Okay, if you can't argue their stuff without knowing how to argue their stuff. You're in the right area. It's like being in the right house, but you're in the wrong room.
Tax protester whose argument consisted of the fact that all the tax and legal documents spelled his name out in capitals in a normal way while he insisted his name was spelled out with capitals and lowercase letters and with punctuation in the middle, i.e. Edgar Francis Bradley, ordered him to undergo psychiatric examination, which subsequently found him to be competent to stand trial. B.L. Kaufman, judge orders defendant tested, Cincinnati Enquirer, June 17, 98. Can you blame the judge? Here is a guy admitting the name on these documents is his name. Then turns around and says it's not his name, because it's not spelled that way. This guy is obviously confused or deceived. So remember, if a court yells out a name that sounds like your name, and you know that the name called out is not your name, because the court has spelled it in all capital letters, then do not answer to that fictitious name.
Now, I disagree once again with that part, but you get the premise to the information. If you go mute and don't answer, then they have the right to assume that it's you, you're the surety, you're the product, the the deposit for the debt, and they're gonna, well, you know, take the package. Okay. All right, so we are not done. Okay, we are not done. Let's take a look at what we have going on here. This is an important video, guys, so that's why I made this one, because we have to understand how to do commerce properly. So let's take a look. So typography is the style or appearance of a text. So they weren't arguing the right things. In typography, capitalized all letters refers to text or a font in which all letters are capitals or capital letters. Okay. All right, now let's get to the coup de grace, if you will. All right, one moment, peoples, one moment. All right, so let's see. All right, I'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. So, okay, so I got a document here. We're going to kind of go through some of the stuff that we found on capitalization. So it says legal styles manual. Okay, prominent legal styles manual such as the Blue Book. Now get this. So in doing research, I had already done this on my own and found this little beauty. This is called the Red Book. It's a manual on legal style. Now, what's interesting, this is by Brian A. Garner. Wait a minute. I know that name. Because Brian A. Garner is the editor-in-chief of Black Law's Dictionary. And all these things trace back to governor, Britain, England, Europe. Then the next one, and I haven't gone through these yet because, well, there's a lot of reading in here, is called the Blue Book. These are the core books on the legal system. I bet you some of these judges and definitely police officers and other agents have not read those books to know that everything that they're doing is based out of a foreign system and operated well, we'll leave that alone for right now. Let's get back to the video. All right. So, court rules and guidelines. Many court systems, both federal and state, have rules and guidelines for formatting legal documents. These rules often include provisions that recommend or require the use of all capitalization. Well, why are they making you use all capitalization? The rubber has to meet the road, okay? Where do they touch? And this becomes a thing. So the next one goes on to say, in legal precedent, legal professionals have a long-standing tradition. So if it's a tradition and they're just doing it and almost nobody knows where the rubber meets the road, they just do it. I don't know, the guys 80 years back then did it, so we do it too. Yeah, but where does it arc? Where is the spark that created the universe? Well, we're going to get there. Then they talk about law education, law schools, legal writings, course, teaching aspiring lawyers to use all capitalization in legal writing. Okay, so we're playing just tip right now, but it's about to all come together. Then it goes on to talk about uniformity consisting of legal documents, involve multiple parties, law firms, and courts. You hear a reoccurring thread there. No? Okay, it's coming. Okay, it's coming. Rules and regulations of appellate procedure, Rule 32A5 of the Federal Rules of Appellate Procedures. All capitalizations for case names must be used. Okay. State rules. Once again, all capitalization. Okay. In common law and legal tradition, individuals, which are generally non-living entities, are generally recognized by their full and accurate legal name. Huh. Precedents and legal standards. Established standards for formatting of names in legal documents should... Somebody's dog is running free. Sorry, I'm checking on my cameras right now. This little dog always runs by the house. It's the second time I've seen it now. Weird. Or maybe I'm in a time loop. Are we in the Matrix? Is it the same? Do you see? Is it the same cat? Is it a black cat? All right, so let's go on here. An all capitalized name is typically used in legal documents to signify a specific and formal representation of an individual or entity, essentially the same thing, its name. It is often employed for formal identification purposes such as case captions, contracts, and official government documents. It's also used to make the name stand out. That's the slight, it's how they kind of justify it. For example, an individual's legal name, you keep hearing the word legal, right? John Doe is presented in all capitalization to ensure the distinction and recognition and formal representation in legal context. Here we go. Now it goes on to say all lowercase name. And all lowercase name is generally considered to be less formal. Uh-oh. Here we go. So there's a difference between formal and, well, how about not formal, but they want to say less formal. Okay, so they still got to just kind of jab you in there, okay? So less formal, okay, or a casual way of presenting a person's name. So if there's formal and not formal, what they're trying to note here, professionally, but slightly, is formal is public, less formal is private. So the name in all lowercase lettering is a private person, private man or woman's name. It also goes on to say, it is often used in everyday communication, informal settings, and here it is, non-legal contexts or matters. So when you use the all caps name, the straw man, it is a legal entity within a specific jurisdiction. That's why it's used, is to denote that there is a separation between here. Now, if you can't understand or see that, well, then you don't know how to play the game and you're incompetent. That's all there is to it. The use of the all lowercase letters does not carry the same formality or emphasis as the all capitalization name. So they are in fact distinct things. This is what the people were not arguing. That's why they lost their cases horribly. It says here, for clarity and uniformity in the legal context, uniformity as a representation of names is essential. In all lowercase format, once again, I was right, there you go, can lead to ambiguity, especially when different individuals, which are still what? Entities. Then it goes on to say, or entities have similar or identical spelled names. In court, it helps attorneys and others. So once again, everything we're saying, you notice it's nothing's nowhere near the same thing private. So this is all public matters. Corporations, legal jurisdiction, and other parties, legal entities, involved in legal proceedings to identify the parties accurately. Yeah, because they got to know who they're dealing with, because they can't deal with the living person, the living man or woman. That's why they don't refer to as a man or woman, they refer to as a person, a custodial parent, non-custodial parent, children instead of offspring, okay? These are their words. When you use their words, they assume you're one of them. So when you start babbling like Sasquatch language, they can't understand you. You're incompetent. This person doesn't clearly know how to move in our system, and they take advantage of that. Because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to do commerce. You don't even know where you're at. You don't even know who you are. So now, they got a section here on private and informal matters. Conversely, the use of all lowercase letters for names is generally associated with private. There it is. Welcome to the shebang-a-bang. Yeah, put your feet up. Make yourself at home. Informal, casual settings. The use of all lowercase letters for the names is generally associated with the private, informal, and casual settings. Oh, you know what? I guess I could show my screen, which you guys see this too. Here, hold on. My bad. Okay. Now, this was all put together through ChatGPT scouring the internet to find the information. All right. So right here, private matters and informal matters. It's generally associated with the private, your private side. When individuals choose to represent their names in all lowercase letterings, they are typically signing an informal or personal context rather than a formal legal context. There you have it. In conclusion, the use of an all lowercase format for names is not in alignment with formal, precise, and standardized requirements of legal proceedings. While individuals have the freedom to use various formats for their names in private or informal matters, adhering to established conventions such as all capitalization is essential in the legal realm. Bum, bum, bum. To maintain clarity, precision, and respect for legal tradition. Boom, shaka laka, shaka laka, shaka laka, shaka, boom. All right, let's see if I can find any more goodies. All right, so they refer to the private version of your name as non-formal formatting. That's how they should have been arguing their case. That my name in non-formal formatting is private. But see, they were still trying to say that that name wasn't theirs. Now, if you wanted to make a case argument, you could argue that, in fact, that is not your name, but you'd have to say that it was a state of created legal person. So that formatted name is the property, what was issued by the state. But in fact, legally, nobody owns it. The state doesn't own it. You don't own it. You didn't file a claim to copyright or trademark the name. If you did, then you do own it. The state allowed you to use it as an authorized agent, so you are the caretaker of it. You are the surety. So you control it. So I would have been arguing, I control it, but I don't own it. So, well, that's you. I'm not a you, I'm a man. And that name as formatted is not a man. Get some, you little bum. All right, so here, let me check the screen. Let's get back on that. Okay. So once again, it's crazy. These bullets are created by asking Chat GPT, provide 5 bullets to get the most important points across about formal formatting, the legal versus non-formal private name. Okay. So formal formatting, precision, formal formatting, all capitalizations used in legal documents. For what? To avoid confusion. Confusion of what? Between the living, non-formal formatted name, private person, human being, man or woman. That's why they do it, to avoid confusion. And what? To clearly, what? Clearly identify the parties and elements. Elements sounds non-living, and parties can be a multitude of things. Yay! For consistency and to minimize errors across legal documents. And it's also respect to tradition. Yeah, back when they were slaves. They can't make you a slave legally these days, so they turn you into a co-trustee, an employee. 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. Clarity. Formal formatting is essential in courtrooms to convey a serious and formal tone. Public. It's a jurisdictional thing. It's a difference here, jurisdictional difference. Legal recognition. What? What? Legal recognition. Dramatic pause for, dramatic pause. So the all capitalized name, which is the legal person and in a legal jurisdiction, which does not own the private, but the public, to be recognized, that name then gives you legal recognition. And you can only utilize this when you're at the age of the majority at 18 years old. Can you enter into their PMA? Courts and authorities recognize and expect formal formatting for legal accuracy. We have to make sure that you are actually correctly in the right person. Are you in the right ship? Non-formal formatting, which means the private. Informality, non-formal formatting, such as all lowercase letters, is typically used in informal, personal, or casual context. Everyday communication, found in email, social media, personal correspondence. It's not formal. It's not formal, then it's private. Flexibility, casual tone, lack of legal recognition. So if the legal is the public and you have been removed from the Constitution for the United States of America, you've gone to another jurisdiction, you've waived your rights as a constitutional man or woman, as your backbone, as your protector. So if you've lost nearly all or most of that, and it's represented by the all capitalized name, that is what's referred to as capitis demutio maxima. So let's read it. Legal concept. Capitis, meaning of the city-state. Demutio means to diminish. Maxima means full or mostly or maxed out. So capitis meaning capitalized, to make money on or to be in full capitalization. Capitis is a term from Roman law referring to the most significant loss of your legal status or rights a person could experience. In Roman law, it involved a person losing their citizenship and legal rights. You were turned into a slave. All of your connections to your freedoms, your family name, your private side are gone. Your property. You've been transmuted. Now, most of the rest of this is basically the same stuff. I asked it lots of similar questions to see the different responses I would get. So I'm not going to go through everything. There's a couple of things in here where it's doing its best to bring the information together, but it's you can't. It's still learning. Okay. And some things are lost to antiquity. And so it's not going to be able to find all of the minutia. So one of the problems that we had is so what I'm trying to say is there's actually no constitutional law to support this, because none of this is based in the Constitution. I don't know why I didn't see this before. It's based in the Roman law, corporate law, legal, maritime, corporation, public. That is separate from what we show here, which is the private side. God, religion, faith-based, natural, common law, if I didn't say it. So that's why there's a difference there. So with their books that I have, I should be able to read through and find some references to it. Maybe we'll find the exact statement in there. Otherwise, once again, Brian A. Gardner, if you're out there watching, please feel free to reach out to me. And if I'm missing something, then yeah, let me know. We'll put it on. Matter of fact, I would love to have you on the show. You know, I know various governmental agencies and agents and police officers and sheriffs watch my channel. I'm not here to, I'm not here to wage war. I just want to know the truth. I don't care where it takes me. That's why I've joined all these different fraternities and clubs and things. I just want to know what's going on. Teach me something. And once again, I will be honest. I have done this process. I've helped people who were in the White House, friends of people from there, agents, law enforcement, to understand the private versus the public, what's going on, how to use it for their means. I do keep their personal information confidential. I am not against anybody or any agency. Levitica is private and it is neutral. So, but I don't like the people who ignorantly follow orders. That's it. Or racist people or prejudiced people. I mean, I'll still help you even if you are. I don't care. But you should know the truth. That's what we're here for. And you're not going to hear this from modern academia, because modern academia has their own agendas. I don't have an agenda. I just want to know the truth. You tell me aliens and Bigfoot are real and unicorns. Well, I found evidence that actually all those things were real, or some are, or used to be before they were hunted off, or maybe they were misidentified. Either or, do the research. If you just listen to what somebody's telling you, and this goes even for what you guys are hearing from me, don't just believe me. I'm some guy on YouTube. I'm just a strange man in a box on your screen, which, by the way, hit that like if you don't mind. Appreciate that. So that's about it, guys. So I'm going to continue the research. I've got 1,800 kajillion more books to read on all the various other things. Don't forget to join me on my other YouTube channels. I would appreciate that. Thank you to the guys and women out there who have already subscribed to those other channels, including the Badwolf Media channel on YouTube. If you guys want to know which platforms I'm on that are really me, go to blacksite32.com, go to my social media page. Also on blacksite32, you can find resources, discounts, government agencies, programs, a ton of different things, free files. Remember, everything is educational information as well. Understand that I will never ask you guys for money in any of these groups. It's not me, okay? So to those scammers out there, scamming people in whatever ways you guys are trash, and get a real job. I mean, you could use some of my videos to actually create jobs helping people instead of ripping off people. So guys, I will never ask you how long you've been in my group. You like? I can invest with you Bitcoin. I will never do that. It's never going to be me. That also being said, don't be mad if I don't message you back. I try to get to people, but having like 10 different platforms and this channel, I just cannot reach out to everybody. So if I see it and I respond, great. But I cannot maintain a normal email database, which is why we've got the Telegram groups. You can go on there and talk to other people who've learned nearly everything I have, who can help you. Be careful when you're using other people's methods and processes. I just got some emails today. I'm not going to mention any YouTube people's names that have come to me after getting into trouble doing other people's processes that want help to try to remedy it. Some things I can help, some things I don't, but I do not do court cases. I do not do the bonds. Okay, just so don't message me for that, because otherwise I got to charge you lawyer prices. So I'm going to give you better than lawyer information, stuff that they can't even talk about without getting barred, or disbarred, I believe it is. Then yeah, I'd have to charge dang near what they're charging, because it's frankly, I'm worth it better than most of them. I had a judge ask me if I was a lawyer and if I would join them. So I must be doing something right. All right. Remember, I was going to go into law enforcement and the military. I opted out of to not do one, and the other one didn't want to take me because I informed them honestly that I have smoked some of the devil's lettuce before. And what's funny now is that it's mostly legal, and well, not well, a lot of areas is legal. So that's what's hilarious. But anyway, that's it, guys. Thank you for watching this very long video on all the information. Hopefully you appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that bell, like, subscribe, and support. You can donate on blacksite32.com. Any amount is loved and welcomed by me. But you multimillionaires out there, set me up with an account. Throw in like $250,000, maybe $1 million. That would be awesome. All right. You guys can make it happen. You won't even miss it. And some of you out there during the COV, ID 19, I know you guys got a cool $1 million sent to you from the government, right? So float me $1 million. Just something. It's cool. Come on. Otherwise, yeah, you guys can check out. Remember, YouTube does not necessarily promote all of my older videos or all my videos. So go to YouTube, scroll all the way down and click on the view more videos. It opens all the videos up, or click on the playlist, full video playlist, over 800 plus videos, and check it out there. Or drop down to the search bar and go over to the little magnifying glass and bar, type in something and see if it pops up. Okay. As well, if you guys have any information you guys want me to share on the platform and it has been vetted, because I will also vet it before putting it on here. You have to have some moderation to what is communicated in the public. You guys can give me private information. I will keep it private. Do not send anything that's considered to be of a security clearance, because I will reject it, delete it. I do not want it. All right. But if you have inside information or on something or a process that is legit and it is for the private or whatever, you can feel free to send that to me. If you don't want it mentioned on YouTube, then I will not do it. Okay. So, and as always, for those trolls, I do not go back and forth. I will not appear on your channel. I'm not going to debate you. I put the information out there for you to do it on your own. And to the other scumbags out there who take bits and pieces of my video trying to make me crazy or whatever else, good luck with that, because really all you're doing is making me more famous. And in all actuality, it's the opposite of what I want. I don't want to be famous. All right. I don't. I'm a private person. I just want people to ask questions and to vet the information for themselves. The law states that you are responsible for your interpretation of the law, which means that they cannot tell you this is exactly it. There is wiggle room. And as always, guys, do not be out here speeding or being belligerents or combatants or trying to cheat the system or whatever else. Learn to use it the right way, and you won't have to cheat the system. You won't have to try to not do this or what. Learn to do it the right way. Ask. Call them. That's why they all have 800 numbers. Wait a minute. You guys didn't think like I just have this all in my brain, right? You do know I call the IRS, I call the Department of State, I call these places. But I will say, Department of State, because I know you guys watch my videos too. It really sucks that you guys can't even call to ask questions about the passport. You guys remove that for certain reasons. But other than that, you guys do an awesome job at what you guys do. So thank you to the people out there who support and protect the private United States of America, the American people, the natives of the several states. With no deception, thank you for your jobs. Thank you for the work you've done. Thank you for the things that you guys have done that never make the public. Thank you. God bless America. as a patriot to other patriots, thank you for supporting this beautiful land. Have a great night. Talk to you guys later. Wolf's out.